is just like, he was like such a pillar of the community in the earlier stages of the game. So we're starting with Giolo from Greece.
Yeah, a great chance for all our players to make their names here today. As well, also before we really get into this one, I definitely want to shout out Black as well. Another one of the players came through the #1 finisher from the Open qualifier, so expecting big things from them as well.
Yeah, for sure. We are into the first couple of PvE rounds, so there won't be too many crazy things, although I might eat my words on that, as we have seen things like an Ezreal 3 on 1-2, or like 1-3 or something.
2-1, okay? And it's Pirates again, okay? So we have 3 econ traits in play. 4 econ traits even. So a lot of different economy options, right? And I think that could potentially lead to us to having like a very stacked game, right? Because like each player will have access to gold pretty easily if they want it, right? Like you look at Giolo right now, has that Yone, has that Leona as well, has that early Lagoon. Like you can just pick and choose here right now.
I mean, it's pretty hard to turn down, generally a couple of gold per turn for playing some very, very good units. But you're right. I guess, we'll see how greedy Giolo is in terms of wanting to try and cram in as much economy as possible. But presumably, as you're saying, with this much economy in play, we're going to be seeing those big Dragon Balls coming out a lot more frequently that we saw Raiko win with last game.
It's also worth noting, right, due to the fact it's only a 2-unit core, speaking of 2 units, that's an Olaf pair. And Clouded Mind. Okay, options are plenty right now, because like, Scorch is fine, combat training, it's kind of whatever, it's not really an argument you want to pick, right? But Clouded Mind, to me, if you know how to navigate it, and you have the opportunities, it is such a good augment, because you just get, like, the economic advantage of Clouded Mind is insane. It's 3 gold per turn. It's so good.
And it's getting picked up. Gio also having his bench full at the moment is just able to easily go into the Cluttered Mind here by picking up the orb, just fully benched out his augment. Beautiful, exactly where you want to be. And from here on, we're just being chilling, right? Like, Gio does not have to do anything. He'll easily level up. It'll all be fine. The rest of the lobby will need to keep up with what this trajectory of Cluttered Mind is doing to the lobby.
We can see that not everybody's gone for level 4 straight away, so we don't even have the concern there of being overrun and having those 4 unit losses early on. Havali has gone for preparation. We have seen that by certainly in the prismatic version, end up being too much of a holding back. This time it's gold, and we can see that Havali has got a lot of promising units on their bench getting prepared to make a big splash.
Wow. The Lagoon player is on the other side. You know that, right?
Oh, you.
But yeah, he did take a win here. Everybody else will slowly but surely develop either a losing or a winning streak, as we know. And Gio now able to slot in a 4th unit, and it will be the Olaf, maybe looking to stack that up early on.
Yeah, like the item setup here is not horrible, right? The options are there, like Hand of Justice is an open one right now. Looking at the early options, Experience actually gone for combat training, even though I was pretty early to dismiss it on this specific selection. Generally speaking, right, like Loot Master, I believe that is Loot Master, right? I totally did not prepare guest games all week. totally. Well, it was definitely not Loot Master, but yeah.
All as well as we go into the second PvP round, staying on Gio for now, just looking at the advantage that Cluttered Mind will give him on the experience bar. He will take another loss on the HP bar as Black finds a win against him.
This is the kind of thing which I was looking out for, really, to have from the early game, is if you're going to go for something which is going to put no immediate combat strength onto your board, then you are going to fall victim to players who are, are trying to go more down that route. I think Giolo's doing a pretty good job of holding on and keeping their options open. Note as well, they've still kept hold of their Mirage units on the bench, so we don't know for certain they're not going to try and go for the ultimate greed of putting in 2 economy traits at once.
I mean, it's not even that ultimate greed or something like that, right? I think that putting in like the 2 Mirage units here is going to be the correct way of going about it to a certain extent, if you want to like fully just revel in the fact that you are just going to be so far ahead of everyone else. Again, it also does mean that you need to be somewhat comfortable in your ability to transition, because the lower HP you have, the harder it is for you to do it. For you to make those transitions, right? And again, because sometimes like most transitions will need like a couple of turns. If you have like 20 HP, you don't have a couple of turns to make those transitions. It's something to keep in mind.
Mace.
Yeah.
In excellent news, we've got a very good possibility that Zippor is going to be playing Zippy this game.
That just makes you so happy, doesn't it? But yeah, we talked about Zippy, I think, earlier on in the first or second analyst disc of the day. Zippy, especially Zippy 3, just being so good right now. And a lot of people looking for Zippy, looking to go into guild for the extra buffs. Bard also towards the end, just being so good for your team, providing that extra mana. So yeah, we'll see if that's really what Zippo is going for.
So a couple of things to note, right? So one of the reasons why Zippy 2 has been like such a nice stable thing across like many comps is because of the fact that like how flexible the guild core is. So if you get like a guild emblem, you have Saya open, you have Deja open, you can like put it on Shyvana, you can put it on pretty much anything, right? And just play the guild core around it. And with Zippy, you know, getting that +3 to the guild to the guild trait, it's just super solid and like a very easy unit to play around.
We check back in with Double 61, who is actually going to be going down the Rengar route. Now, I don't know if there was something changed there, or maybe it was just a bug that it looked like they had an absolute ton of Brawler's gloves, but either way around it, Double's got the units, but doesn't really have the right itemization setup it seems like they would need to get themselves really rolling.
I mean, you can still switch that around, right? It's only round 2-5. You have a Rengar. That crit glove is not too shabby. Anything else, you're just going to redo, right? You have double rel, something we see a lot with the Darkblade, and then that Lilia you can easily enough recraft if you so wish to. So I think while currently items are not looking too hot, we have the Cavalier Darkflight online, and that might just be enough to bring him over the edge here as he faces off against Blue Tails.
Yeah, another thing that's worth noting here as well, right? With the cybernetic implant, this opener in and of itself is almost just him getting max value of his augment. It doesn't have to be where he ends up as a late game board state. Because if you look at the options he's holding open on the bench right now, has Lagoon stuff on the bench, is just selling off now to make econ, I suppose, but he does have, you know, different angles to play for right now if he wants to take them.
There we go, a little note about KT Double 61. Of course, if you were here for our last EMEA regional finals, you'd have seen us end the broadcast extremely excited about what Double 61 would mean for the region. Unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out in the way which we would have hoped, but we know that, you know, there's not just a ridiculous amount of potential here for Double 61, but the results also, for the most part, back up that assertion.
I mean, he is the current reigning EMEA champion. And not only once, but twice has won that title. And he did go to Worlds the last time around. Didn't take Worlds last time, but still, the competitive history on Double 61 is not to be overstated. Like, he is definitely one of the best in our entire region. So seeing him here in a lobby that's trying to scramble for day 2, very interesting.
Did Gizmos and Gadgets Worlds even happen? I feel like you would never. I feel like we didn't really show up to it, so I just don't remember it, to be honest.
The EMEA community as a whole has decided to abandon the Gizmos and Gadgets World Championship.
It is no longer canon. It's no longer canon.
I'm editing the Wikipedia page as we speak.
Oh, just a quick note. We are on 35,000 viewers. Thank you for that. If we hit those 40,000, our dearest co-caster, Infectious Panda, will give us a Nidalee cosplay. So keep on telling your grandmas to tune in. I love that. And I'm really excited to see that cosplay.
It's a whole lot of grandmas, but I think we can do it, friends.
Speaking of a whole lot of stuff here, we have a whole lot of meh right now. Yeah, a whole lot of that. We did get the Reforger at least right, but like, where do you even take this, right? You don't have anything that gives you any direction, right? You can make a Thieves Glove, you can make a QSS. Like, there's no like sword or bow or anything to really help him accelerate his game plan. Meanwhile, someone who doesn't need accelerating off the game plan will be Black TFT, right? Look at this position right now. He's chilling with the needles a big gem, has 33 gold in the bank, a full win streak, could end up hitting into Zipper, right? That is something that we need to look into for sure, obviously. But he hits KC double, so we can never really escape double 61. He just always comes back into our view side.
Sorry, I'm very curious as to what's going on Dark Hydra's board, because we just saw the econ overlay, which showed that he was on 60-something gold, and while he was toggling around, he might be on the shimmer scale angle for now, similar to what Black is running here. And I'd be interested to see what exactly is going on there. Second augment now coming in for these players. Thrill to me is always interesting, but Portable Forge, one of our players' favorites, I think, in general competitive history.
Yeah, just giving you the extra line of decision making, but Thriller Hunt is always going to be an extremely, extremely good augment. And again, one of those ones that really helps you when you've got, when you need to win here and now, when you're getting kills, that's when you're getting that health coming back in. With a Knife's Edge as well, these are all augments that are allowing Black to maintain as much immediate power in these rounds rather than looking towards the future.
It's also worth noting, right, that neither Thriller Hunt synthesizes incredibly well. This board is looking like something that could very easily transition into the Jade Siphon type of board, right? And it is a very good position to play these boards from as well, because you want to play those boards from ahead. That is the big thing, because then you can like bleed out, you'll win some fights, you're more or less guaranteed your top 4. And right now, that top 4 mark is kind of the golden spot for a lot of these players to guarantee themselves a spot into tomorrow.
We can't forget noting something, because we were talking about double 61 not really having a direction, not really having something to work with on his board. He has picked up the double trouble too, so KC double on the double trouble augment on what we last saw was a Dark Flight board. This could get actually very interesting.
Now you can definitely freestyle a Rengar, right? That's the big thing here. But it is an incredibly potent setup for double 61 for sure, right? I think that is something that you're talking about. It gives him direction. It gives him a boost to his composition. Still yet to find that second copy of Rengar. And kind of speaking of, like, combining this rel kind of makes him weaker right now because there's nothing else to put in, so might as well just stay above the 50 HP point, or 50 gold point rather, sorry, should I say, because he is stable enough in terms of like his HP right now at 78 that he has a lot of time to go on a 4-1 angle and roll down to stabilize instead.
Well, I think the problem with actually being at this point for double is that they don't have the positioning on the carousel to pick up the components they're going to need to turn all of these ridiculous amounts of Brawler's Gloves into something more useful. I mean, their sword would be amazing, but I can't imagine they're going to end up getting there.
Yeah, combos. It's not that far off, right? Like, at the end of the day, and again, with the components he's gotten, he knows that he's more or less guaranteed to get actual offensive components, right? Like swords and bows should be coming in the next wave for him.
Well, get kicked in the face, get punched on the table.
I'm seeing a Nidalee, and while this is not a Nidalee reroll carry, it's a Nidalee too with 3 items for now as an item holder for Havali, something I'm sure Panda loves seeing. But after this carousel, I do want to check in with Experian. He did win our set 6 Golden Spatula Cup. I believe it was number 2. So I want to see where he is at right now, as he is on 56 HP trying to get through here.
Yeah, Giololo, or Giololo. I'm going to try and get the name right eventually, hopefully by the end of
Giolo.
Giolo, yeah. There we go. He's also sitting just above Experian with just slightly more HP. Everybody else around the 70-80 mark, and of course Zippo and Black up at the top of the heap with the 90s, as we'll see. So Experian, they've gone for something we haven't seen so far today, which is throwing out an absolute cloud of shrouds.
I mean, we have seen not that many Shrouds of Stillness, but that should be interesting once it comes out. For now, it's not doing him any favors. He's on an 8th loss streak. Rengar 1 has not found the Rengar 2. Econ is in the gutter. 7 gold to work with is not a lot. It does have another belt that he could technically slam, but maybe, just maybe, this Shroud of Stillness will be enough to do something against Giolo, as the Rengars are slicing and dicing in the backline here, trying to take out the Kaisa, but she is getting some extra healing from that Thrill of the Hunt. Will get out annihilated here for the second, but it's not as a strong win as you might think with what the Shroud buff does.
I would love... This is one of the situations where I could conceivably imagine that Cutthroat could actually work as an augment, and it gives you the bonus damage against silenced targets, and in this case, you're silencing the entire board at one time.
Also worth noting here, the pickup of the the pickup of the Rengatsu here is massive, because the thing that's worth noting here, experience board is still not fantastically strong, right? That's something we need to look out for. And he did lose his losing streak, right? So his economy right now is super dependent on him actually being able to maintain his winning streak from here on out, because he is not going to get a lot of gold from streaking regardless, and his economy is generally speaking quite poor right now.
Let's see how they do up against Black, who is no longer undefeated, but does still have a pretty solid board put together. You see, there's a big contrast to Double 61. We have got the Rengo stay with the good items here, though. The buff item leaves a little bit to be desired. I think we should be good enough to chew through most of the board, and yeah, set goes off, but unfortunately the rest of the team is already dead by the time that they do.
It's actually so interesting to me how many Darkflight boards we are seeing, while things like Jade are still a pretty strong option. I mean, right now we're seeing like 4 players every lobby to turn towards the darkest flights, and it's not doing them any favors. They're just cannibalizing each other, going hand in hand down the lobby ladder. And I would like for one of them to go into a different direction. I'm curious where Casey Double is taking it now that he has picked up the Double Trouble, but I do think it will still be a Dark Flight board there.
It's because they've got a lot of dark frequent flyer miles. They're trying to use them up.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Did they get bonus, yeah?
Absolutely. Sorry, when were you going to say something sensible?
The more Dark Alliance coming through, or what? What are the trades of more Dark Alliance, Peter? Talk us through. Like, what do they get bonus points for?
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm assuming going to other people's boards and spamming emotes as long as possible, particularly if you manage to hit your units before the units of the other person who's contesting you. I think in this case here, where we've got the Dark Flights coming in, that's going to be happening more than often.
Here we have it, Zippy 2. So did someone say Zippy? As we see a Malphite free from Giolo as well. So, I mean, 4-1 is where we're going to see the boards kind of live their best life here. But this Bramble Vest on the Zippy could be absolutely critical for how this fight is going to pan out.
Sorry, what? I think I have not seen Malphite 3 being really pursued in a long time. So we might need to check in with what Giolo is doing down there. 39 HP and just hit a Malphite 3. That begs some questions to me. I don't know if I'm just like lost in 12.19, but what?
It's kind of impressive as well, considering that they've been playing Cluttered Minds, so presumably they're actually quite far up in levels. But I suppose you've got to find some amount of one cost, as we've got our last augments coming in. We've got the generic choices here. Don't think we're ever going to be seeing the Terrify. Dark Hydra will be bringing in the newly nerfed Celestial Blessing. Let's see what Geo has got for us here. It will be a generic choice for them as well, with the Sunfire board.
Yeah, generic choice right here. He's looking for that Soam 2 to really help elevate his board state, right? Sitting on a lot of impactful pairs. Almost feel like picking up the Malphite 3 might have been a mistake. We haven't seen his perspective throughout the full game, right? So it's kind of hard for us to really fathom whether or not that's going to be good enough here. Another thing I want to talk about quickly for the Dark Hydra perspective, we saw before, right? That's the fact that he has First Aid Kit in combination with Celestial Blessing. So there's a nice little combo right there.
Yeah, so
what was that laugh, Peter?
Was that not an intentional joke with you weren't able to fathom them? Oh my gosh, amazing. Just a natural comic, I guess. Well, we'll see how well the...
I'm built different, Peter, okay? I'm built different over here.
Made of proper steel. Well, Geo is going to need to try and steal themselves back a win here, because they're currently on the big loss streak and they're fairly close to being dead. I mean, they're quite a tough spot. If they win, they lose all their money. If they lose, they plummet towards potentially one of our spots that will not make it through to day 2.
I mean, I think think you'd rather lose the money than the lobby, but that just might be my angle on this. There is a Shyvana in the store, will get rerolled as we pursue the Soam 2 being hit by Giolo. That should provide hopefully a little bit of extra board strength, but he only has a blue buff, and that's not a lot to work with. Zoe being 1 copy away from the 2-star, Nyla being 1 copy away from the 2-star, 0 gold to work with. Giolo is not in a good spot right now.
Like, I would almost like to see him just, reforge his bow right now, right? Like, just to try to see if you can get that rod or something like that would really help you, like, just get some more damage going through, so you have, like, more clear direction on the carousel as well, right? Because at this point in time, you're not guaranteed to, like, make it to the dragon as well, right? That's what the Soraka is board with 2-star Soam, though, is going to do a lot of work here, as Dark Hydra's board will take a tumble, it seems. I say that because we never really quite know what Sippy does here, because Sippy also really utilizes all the augments quite well, right? Like Celestial Blessing, first aid kit shielding becomes better, bigger and stronger, right? So
it would be completely the first time I see Zippy pull off something silly, but I don't think it's going to happen this time. So we have ended up in the situation we were talking about, which is that Giolo, they've got a good amount of stuff here. They've got the the Zoe building up. They've got the Soam. They've got a chance now to be able to pick up a Soraka with the rod on it to at least get some kicking off and starting putting out some serious damage.
So that's the issue here, right? So what happens now if he picks up a Soraka 2? That's not an issue, right? To a certain extent, right? But like, he has to figure out with himself if Soraka 2 is worth more than getting a rod over to the Soam. And I honestly don't know the answer to that question, but that is a question that he might have to be prepared to find an answer for, which is the great thing about TFT, right? Sometimes you just get to make decisions you didn't think you had to make. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm not right. I'm not right. That's not great, though. But no.
There is a Nyla 2 in the store for Giolo right now, and he might need to think about what he's going to do with that rod, and it will be the Gauntlet, Slam, and Sell on that Soraka, so we get a little bit of extra strength onto the Zoam. Really, I like this here. I think that was best case scenario, what you could do. Of course, the extra healing from a Soraka would have been nice, but even on a level 8, your legendary chance is only 4%, and you need to find that Soraka 2 first to actually profit off of it, and he needs to be stronger now. So that's what the Gauntlet is doing to the Soam here right now. And you can see the damage just coming in with every single cast, providing him so much more extra damage across the board and letting him win another round here. That is what Giolo needed, so I love this.
Yeah, also another thing I need to talk about here, sorry for a second, was like I certainly had to use the reforger to find direction. Obviously, he was holding the bow to make that the Zerat portal that just made on the Malphite, right? Which is also a big spike for the composition here. But Dark Hydra's board is slowly but surely starting to fall off, so he is holding transitions on the bench here, right? You're looking at a 2-star Shyvana. It technically is a Shyvana, but it's Siphon. Sorry, Siphon. Sorry, right? Like. But that's like going to be the next big spike for this composition to get this Sippy, get rid of the Sippy and get this Siphon on the board instead.
Yeah, well, suddenly Hydra going to be living up to the name. Of course, again, the choice by Niberia, who was saying before that Dark Hydra was a player they were learning from to start off their TFT journey. Let's see how they go up against Zippo, who has made good on that threat of playing Zippy. But they've got themselves more focus on the back line. That Twitch is looking pretty darn strong. And we've got Jace with the Thieves' Gloves as well, doing a lot of work. The big stun off the back line.
We
Zippy
just
still
hit
stays up.
40K
Oh, did we?
on our viewer, so I naturally need to yell in. We did unlock the impetuous Nidalee
Oh my gosh!
for this broadcast. I love that for us, and I love that for you, chat. Thank you so much. 40K, please stay. We're currently in our last game of today. There will be 2 more tomorrow, and currently we are getting close to the first players getting eliminated here. Experion on 17 HP as the Order Treasure Dragon comes through, Rita.
Yeah, like I was looking at that Mistral for a second, right? Like Mistral is so good, but no, okay. Experion again in a tough scene, but it does have that guild emblem, so they get Omnivamp across the board, which is pretty good, and then they get the Darklight Essence on top of it. is starting to look for those Swain items and did find a couple here, so that's going to be pretty good. I'm expecting to see an RFC. Yep, good setup here, I would say so far. So good. Still just continuously rolling though. Swain 2 will be the biggest spike possible. Question is, could you even feasibly hit Swain 2 right now? But you are in a spot of desperation. That's a big thing to note as well. And I think that is where the big issue really starts right now. For Experian, right, he's a little bit behind the curve. You're looking at the tails as well. Like, these are some big names facing like elimination right now.
Yeah, they're down very low on HP. Of course, you know, a bottom three, Giello, Gluteus, and Experian, all within a couple of very bad rounds of getting eliminated. Takes a big leap up to Black TFT. Double 61 fighting up for the mid of the table. At the top of the table, have lost streaks of their own. So they're going to start coming down, crunching us together as we have two of our bottom three up against each other.
Yeah, and Experian really trying to fight for his life here. He needs a win. He needs to stay in this. And the Vanguards are trying to do their very best for him here. On the other side, there's a Nyla and a Silas that are blocking this path. But it looks like Experian can actually manage to find the win here and just hold on to the next round.
Well, down to the very end. So that means that Giello is the one who's going to take the dip further down. Double 61 taking the L as well means that our bottom five players are starting to look remarkably similar to each other HP-wise. Zippo, Dark Hydra, Havali, they're all up around 50, 60 HP. They should be in a good spot to try and maintain for top four. And of course, we know what that means is that they very likely go through to day number 2 of the competition.
Also, look at Zipper's matchup pool right now. It's literally just 3 players in the bottom 4. Like, he could play the meanest spoiler right now, depending on the outcome of this fight.
Let's see what we've got. Zippo has still got incredibly strong backline, but Giello is fighting for everything here. We've got a Thriller Hunt as well to enable the backline characters to stay nice and healthy. Backlines are starting to get into a perilous situation. Zippy is not doing enough to punch through. Of course, would love to have the Infinity Edge to do that a little bit more damage, but doesn't have it. Has survivability instead, and survivability does nothing for you without a backline to back you up.
Look at these life totals, man. Like, Gluteus, Black, and Experian, they're single-digit HP. Also worth noting, right, that Zipper's board right now, he's in one of those awkward positions where you're lacking Saya too. You're lacking Zipper too as well. Like, he's lacking these meaningful upgrades to his board to really elevate himself into a better position. Luckily for him, right, a lot of the players in and around the back end of the lobby are currently on like 1 to 2 lives, so he should be, just like by pure mathematics, should be online. But speaking of being online, Gutierrez has a 2-star assault with the Terra, like the 4 dragons, the 3 dragons setup right now, coming through here. Now, question is this going to be enough?
Yeah, we will see about that. 2 of those dragons are 1-star, and we're facing off against Experian. The Shroud of Stillness coming through on the Assault, but it won't be enough here. He will actually cast up and take some enemy units with him here. The Swain still surviving, but will it be enough against the remaining units? Yasuo has ulted, and he's going to take out Experian. Black also finding an end here. 7th place and 8th place locked in here in round 5-3.
We knew those were the places of doom where you most likely won't be making it through to day number 2. Each one of these players in this lobby is just above the line. If things go against them, they will dip below that line and we shall see them no more. Giello holding on Gluteus Maximus as well. Our top 4 now sitting pretty in comparison.
Yeah, Giello had to make a decision here in terms of whether or not the mage cap is actually going to help him spike. I think that's the big thing he was looking out for right there, right? Because he already has the Zoe too. It's not the Zoe he's taking it for. And depending on the build of his board, whether or not that mage emblem will really help him, you know, that's a big if, to be completely honest, right? Looking at this board right now, it probably won't, right? Like, how are you going to fit this like in? Like, you can make like mage Soraka, I guess, but you're not going to fit 5 mages if you're going to be sticking with the 6 Lagoon. At that point right now, your best board is 6 Lagoon. Okay, it's going to take out the Soraka. Fair enough.
I mean, he really needs to survive this round, right? So it makes sense to just go for strongest. He does have a pretty good front line with the Silas and the Malphite 3, which to me still is peculiar. But he's going to face up against Gluteus, Peter.
Yeah, we know that Yasuo was a difference maker before, surviving to the end of the round and putting out an absolute world of hurt. It's going to be Soma versus the Aurelian Soul. We have not got the cast speed item, so we are relying on the longer rounds to come through. Yasuo stays alive, takes down the Zoe, and it's all down to Soma on the backline with just a little help from her friends. The ults are reaching full capacity, and there goes the earth-shattering kaboom. Giolo is gone, and we're down to 5.
And now the needle gets moved, right? Because now Gluteus, he's the strongest in the lobby right now. This board is as close to capped as can be right now. Really speaking, right, he's not going to hit Terra 2 on level 8 most of the time, regardless. Like, look at the augment as well, right? Uplink, you're looking at Jewel Lotus and Shell. Like, these dragons are so tanky, they do so much damage, and they have the continuous casting coming through, paired it up with the Yasuo. It's just so good. And now Doppel and Zipper are the ones who really need to like keep an eye out, because they're the next in the chopping block, depending on whether or not this board from Doppel is strong enough.
Yeah, and Gluteus might actually take out Double here, so let's see where this one goes. The Asol is charging up against that Swain, and the Yasuo is slicing and dicing across the board, but everybody is on to the Asol. He manages to get out of that rough spot, survives here, and I think that will be another win for Gluteus. I don't think there is any escaping for that Swain here, which will be hit by the giant circle, and KC Double is being knocked out 5th in our last round of the day.
Oh boy, we don't know what that means. Of course, until we've got the final results in, we don't know if there'll be any chance of Double being hopscotched across, leapfrogged, and left out of day number 2. Really hope that's not the case, because we definitely want to see much, much more from them. But we're now left in a position where Zippor and Gluteus Maximus are next up on the chopping block.
Yeah, and Gluteus is he's just chilling right now, to be completely honest, right? Because like even the board here coming through from Dark Hydra is probably not going to be strong enough. So it's going to be Havali's board. It's going to be the next big test for Gluteus, right? Again, he's in a precarious situation where he only has 1 life, regardless of like the outcome of any fight right now, due to us entering stage 6. And to be honest, right, like I don't think he really cares to a certain extent. Like there is some aspect of it playing for a second tiebreaker, and the fact that is going to be your total tournament points. Right, so that's something you need to keep an eye out for, but at the end of the day, that is probably not going to be super decisive. But, I mean, this board's just good, right? You're looking at multiple healing options. The Morello can even go on to the Cyber without really costing you anything, right? Like, pretty good spot with Dark Hydra.
It's not as strong as it could have been before, but it's still pretty damn good. A lot going to be on how much damage this Siphon can do before being taken to the ground. Gluteus Maximus will be the opponent. Let's see if they can hang on.
Yeah, and again, all eyes will be on the enemy Asol in the backline. Slowly but surely, the Asol damage will ramp up, and it's just depending on the Yasuo and the other dragons that Gluteus has built to keep them away from the Asol, really, to make sure he can keep on casting. The damage is coming through, and there is no escaping from this Asol for any of these players. Hydra will also find a loss here, and Zippo actually getting knocked out 4th.
We're left in a position with 2 win-streaking players left in our top 3. Havali adds the HP and has the board. Gluteus Maximus has the momentum, fighting back out from the lower table. They know they can't hold anything back.
I am so scared for these players. I mean, Havali and Gluteus will be facing off in the next round. So maybe Havali is just stronger than Gluteus. We don't know for sure. Gluteus' board is looking so crazy. But here comes the Jades, Peter, and we will see if they can take it.
It's our good friends, the Jades, the Xiaoyu, and the Siphon, throwing out the double ADs. Of course, the Aurelian Soul is staying mostly untouched in the backline, but they're not perhaps going to get the time they need. Now, Havali gets blown up too quickly, and now Gluteus, it remains the only undefeated player. Hydra going to be playing up against the Ghost, and it's enough to, well, it's not going to be enough to break any win streaks here, but it's going to be minimal damage either way.
Yeah, I think that like Hydra right now is in a position where he just gotta kind of hope that he can like snatch a second somehow, right? In the grand scheme of things, the remaining fights here are not going to be that impactful for the overall tournament life, right? But again, you want to end the day on a good note, right? So that's going to be something that you really need to look into. And I was kind of interested, right? Because you look at Havali Sports, like you know, you have the you look at the situation, right? And you see declaw, stuff like that, like and all the mystics and etc. It's just really not going to be enough apparently here. But Dark Hydra right now, level 9, has to face against Havali. A bot we just saw him win, but that was a ghost fight, so who knows?
I mean, there's a little bit of a difference with Jade statues. Nobody between Havali and Dark Hydra will be knocked out here based on their HP. Havali with 27 HP should just be strong enough to survive this with how many units he is taking out. But we can have a look at how this board is actually looking. The Xiaoyu trying to take off flight against that Siphon will not be enough. He's going to chomp her out. But it is close. It is very close between Dark Hydra and Havali.
Gluteus managed to hold on as well.
Dragon Carousel, any terrors? There's a terror, right? Yeah, that's a terror right there.
Yeah.
So Gluteus will be beelining for them because, again,
look at him, he's just waddling there. Nobody's stopping him. Waddle, waddle, taking the Terra with the Titans. Nobody was in his way. And Hydra now just looking to see where he can go with this.
Yeah, like Hydra has so many of his key units already fully itemized that it's really hard for him to figure out what he actually would need. And we're gonna see right now for Gluteus, he is trying to find that final copy of Terra to really elevate the sport. It's not gonna happen right now. And Dark Hydra here, this is gonna be a very important fight for him, because if he does beat Gluteus right now, he wins the lobby. But the question really is he even able to do that? Like, the last fight was not even close. It's gonna be super important here.
All right, let's see. Gluteus Maximus up level 9. They've got the Isol right in the back corner of the board, getting in a sneaky last-second ice cream cone to make those casts even stronger. Of course, when these big dragons drop, that makes all the difference in the world. And there goes the Siphon, taken it to pieces, and that means immediately Dark Hydra is in a world of pain. We thought they were safe. They're going to be taking an absolute ton of damage.
Yeah, I mean, was never even close, right? Like, we kind of expect this to be the outcome, but you kind of have to hype it up. Havali at 1 HP, so Hydra has not even guaranteed himself the second place. I think it should be guaranteed to, just in general, right? But this three-person situation that's just been going on for what feels like forever right now, right? Like, all these boards are just super capped, so it's super fun to watch, at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Havali would like to find that Jace too, even though it has been recently nerfed, doesn't provide CC anymore. It's still a good unit to have. The sides against it will go with the 2 Mystic here, slotting in the Rakan. 5 Jade is the end store for him as he meets against Gluteus one more time. And I don't know if you can really put anything against this board, but we will see the Asol once again ramping up. There is a Xiaoyu in the backline. If she just so manages to get onto that Asol, that might have been a chance. But Havali gets knocked out here in 3rd place, and Dark Hydra has fought off against a Ghost.
Yeah, but we enter stage 7. Giant Slayer probably not going to be a deciding factor. Gunblade here, however, is going to be a pretty nice addition to the board here coming through for Gluteus. We have a German Eins und Eins? No, that's not how you say that.
Eins gegen Eins?
Eins gegen Eins, yeah, okay. Meine Deutsche sind sehr gut, ja. Aber I mean that's not a lot of things to really break down here, right? Because again, we saw the 4 Dragon board in the previous game and how dominant it is. This time we're seeing it with the Asol, right? And it really works very nicely with the cybernetic uplink coming through, right? Because the lower mana total on the Asol compared and in conjunction with that cyber for the evoker bonus just really helps secure a nice continuous casting coming through.
All right, so this next round presumably isn't going to end things. I think Dark Hydra's got just about enough in the bank, especially with that Soraka pumping out a couple of extra HP. Oh no, sorry, just a little bit of extra HP per round. But yeah, nothing seems to be able to stand in the way of Gluteus Maximus right now. We do have the upgrade on the Yasuo, but you'd have to sell off the Soraka, and it will be the choice made. Dark Hydra, will this Yasuo with the Giant Slayer joining in be enough to tear through the field? It's going to be very, very tight. We've got the Hextech Gunblade on our friend Terra. That will be a good amount of healing once they be able to stack up the resistances. The Aurelian Soul will carefully and cautiously pump out the damage. The Yasuo is still up for the time being, but I don't think this is going to change the story too much at all. The Terra's still alive, and that means this isn't even a close end to the round.
4 HP remaining on Dark Hydra. Gets one last attempt at trying to figure out what he can do to win this specific fight. Right, and this time everything kind of went nicely, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, it was best case, really, for Hydra. We had the Shroud of Stillness right onto the Aesol, onto the Pantheon. He was getting denied some of his mana, but it wasn't enough nonetheless. The Aesol is just a different beast to actually banish. And then Terra and Idus, you know, they're just so tanky. So let's see, maybe there's a way where Hydra can take the speeder, but I don't see it happening.
All right, this will be our final game of day one of the Golden Spatula Cup number 3. These players almost certain to go through to the day 2 of the competition, but they are looking to fight for pride. That Yasuo, of course, going to do everything he possibly can to stay up and get onto that Aurelian Soul if he can, but it doesn't seem like it's possible. All the hellfire of the cosmos comes a call in. Gluteus Maximus wins the last on-stream game.
He does indeed, right? And Gluteus now former regional champion. He's coming back with a bang. We talked about him before, previously for, I believe, Super Brawl as well. I interviewed him there. He's super passionate about the